It just trigger stacks it, Go. Deet, 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 deet. I'm Patricia Barlow-Irick, and I train wild horses, and I teach people how to train wild horses at Mustang Camp here in northern New Mexico. We've trained more than 600 Mustangs and burros for adoption. In 2021, I took on a student and found her a fresh Mustang with the intent of documenting our process. Maria is a statistician in Portland, Oregon. Her special needs rescue dog, June, introduced her to positive reinforcement-based training, and she decided to learn to use these same methods with horses. The Jicarilla Ranger District had 3 recently captured horses in the Forest Service holding facility. The gray mare, they said, sweats if you even look at her. The others were calmer. I want the wild one, I said. We brought her home to meet the other animals at Mustang Camp. If you're just joining this story, we recommend starting at the beginning of our Belle Parker playlist. Click here to go there now. Okay, this is about task 23, and I think we started way back in session 104, so what's the story?
Session 104 was a bit of a mixed session. We did halter driving and backup, so we did 21, 22, and it ended with us doing 23. We put her in the halter, we put that little tiny lead rope, about 1.5 feet, maybe even just a foot on her, and the idea was to lead her around some very familiar areas, the kind of main pen she hangs out in, and then the adjacent tree pen, which was a little bit newer to her at that time. She hadn't been in there quite as much. She did great. I don't think she tried to pull away once. One notable thing that happened in that session was I kind of led her near the water, and she wanted to get a drink of water, so I unhooked the lead rope from her. She got a drink of water. When she was done, I just hooked her right back up. We went on.
So what was the issue with the ropes that caused us to vary what kind of rope we'd use?
So we had, in, what was that, task 16, we spent a lot of time desensitizing her to the rope. She was good about it, but I just think we did not want to have, because it was still a little bit fresh to her, that big rope, even though we used it in 21 and 22. The idea of her getting away or getting spooked and dragging that rope, I think, was just too much to consider. It seemed like if that happened, we would set ourselves back so much.
Exactly.
That we went for what we call little ropey.
Exactly.
Which was something that if she walked away with, nothing really was going to happen, because we desensitized her to that flipping up and down and around her face.
Right.
So it really wasn't.
Right. So I think the way that I would describe the situation is that we knew she was already prone to be real sensitive to the rope, maybe because of her history or maybe just because she's that way. But we had spent a lot of time fixing it. We didn't want to double the problems that might occur if she got scared walking around, because we really didn't know what she was going to do walking around in new places.
Yep.
So I think that was the thing. And if she got loose and she drug that rope, it could have been much worse.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've used that little rope on her kind of through this task, which we'll talk about. But there's kind of a cool thing that you said, that if she wants to get away from us,
it doesn't matter what size rope you have.
Exactly. And we did find that out a little bit later when she did get away. So I don't know.
When did she get away?
She got away when we were in the tree pen. We're going to talk about it at some point. And you went to pick the leaf from the cottonwood.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's hold off on that, because I remember that.
Yep.
Or what happened in 105?
105, we again, we wanted to lead her into semi-new spaces, so we opened up all of the different pens, which I think there are 6 of them between the area she normally stays in, and she hangs out in the first 2 pens, but I think the 4 beyond that, we usually have donkeys or other animals.
Like the stalls.
Yeah, the stalls.
Okay, so so you were going down the alley and into the stalls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, down the alley, and then also the plaza on the other side, which was an area that we noticed. There was a point in the plaza where she just kind of said, I'm not really going past there at Liberty. Yeah. And so part of it was heading down into that area.
Yeah, you see the other horses going down there and hanging out, but she never goes to that end of the pen.
Or even when she thought something good was happening and she was at Liberty, like I had a hay bag on, there would be just a point in the plaza where she would just stop and
she's
not, like, I'm not going over there. So the kind of protocol for this is start in the familiar area and then start visiting the less familiar areas, and when you get to the less familiar areas, stop and feed at high frequency, and then kind of circle back into the more familiar area where less food will be available. That went well. There were no real issues in that.
Now go ahead and turn and go out that gate. Take her on a loop and take her back. Then what happened the next day?
And the 108.
That would be 108.
So 108, it was again a very similar thing.
When did we start taking her out into the yard where she hadn't been? Was that 108?
That was actually 109.
Okay.
So 108 was kind of the same as 105.
Mm-hmm.
It was through the stalls in the plaza and the alley.
So it wasn't really, it was still kind of familiar area.
I think in the 105 session, I went maybe 2 stalls beyond where she normally hangs out, and I think in that 108 session, we'd gone through all of the available stalls.
Right. Now at this point, you know, we jumped ahead and did task 24 earlier, and that means getting down past those stalls, usually by a different route.
Yep.
Had we already done that?
Yes, we had done. We had gone through the tree pen, so the more familiar route, and she had eaten at a hay bag with the, and she'd also stationed at that. Yeah. At the rope in there.
Okay, so this is, so it really isn't very unfamiliar. It's pretty, I mean, there's like some areas where she hadn't walked on that exact earth, but she had been around all that stuff. Okay. So that was 109.
That was 108.
Okay, 108. Then on 109, what happened?
109 is when we wanted to go to the hay bag that was hanging, but we wanted to actually take her through the unfamiliar version. So instead of through the tree pen, we wanted to go out the plaza into kind of the open space, through the gate, and then into the place where we were going to have a hay bag with alfalfa hanging. Leaving the plaza, she got a little bit sticky, and that's where we kind of worked together on this. I think you would go to a little bit outside of her comfort zone, and then we would lead up to you, and then have a hay party there, circle back.
Now the protocol for this usually involves using the guider sticks and doing 2 trainers. Did we ever do that with this?
We never used the guider sticks.
So the only way that we use 2 trainers is one to be an anchor point out there to go to. Yeah. And then, which kind of makes the unfamiliar familiar in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
So we really didn't push this horse into any level of where we even thought she was likely to.
No.
We were pretty
when she got nervous, you went in, and there is something where she does, if we're both in a session, she does want to have both of us.
Yeah.
So, we kind of.
She obsesses on the second person
that's not active with her. Yeah. And so it really was a way to kind of encourage her into that space.
Yeah. So I think the thing that I'm thinking about the whole thing is that ultimately we don't have a horse that with a reliable leading. We have a horse that's probably going to lead, but we don't really know because we've never really got her to where she fought with us too much until we picked that leaf.
Yeah.
So let's go on to, we're on 109 there?
Yeah, and 109 ended her going into the area with the alfalfa bag. We closed her in, and she happily ate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so 116, and this is where we went into the ox pen. So actually a space she'd never been in, but very adjacent to a space she spends a lot of time. And also you know, she sticks her head through and eats into that space because sometimes the zebra shares with her. This also included the little rope that we put over through the halter.
Oh yeah. So we tried a zephyr lead on this one.
And it was a soft rope, a little soft rope that went from one side through, I don't know all the pieces of the halter, kind of over the nose with the idea that it could give the trainer a little extra control.
Yeah. So when was the first sign that something, you know, that her anxiety was elevated?
I don't think she wanted to really go into the ox pen to start. Yeah. I think she did it and we were in there, but I don't think she was.
Yeah, she may have felt that Spot was going to attack her again or something.
Yeah, we did earlier have a Spot time with her. Yeah, when we were kind of in the ox pen and we were leading a little bit, you thought, hey, these cottonwood leaves are like little treats. Let me get you one. And reaching up to grab one of those just sent her into a spook. And she kind of pulled a little bit, and I got her to a point where she was very vigilant but not pulling. You know, head high, breathing pretty heavily, but she had stopped. And then I think you went for another one at that point.
I think I offered her that leaf.
Oh yeah, maybe you offered the one that you had.
I approached with the leaf.
Yeah, something.
I'm pretty sure it was, I approached with that leaf.
Yeah, I was more focused on her than what you were doing. But I think you know, in your head, you're like, you got to try these. They're a treat. You'll like them.
Yeah.
And she didn't view it that way. And I think she spooked another time a little bit, and I got her to stop, but she was still in that high vigilance. And then I can't really remember exactly, but then she went, and you know, the rope dragged through my hand, and I had to let go. And she had on, I think it was probably like the 7 or 10 foot rope at that point.
How's your rope burn?
Not bad at all. It hurt for a little bit, but it doesn't hurt anymore. We, you know, and it wasn't hard to get her back after. You know, she was pretty okay. You know, we dropped the whole cottonwood leaf thing and went over, got her. And, you know, I don't know if things would have been different, but at that point, you said, let's lead her out of here, which we did lead her out of the ox pen, take off her halter, let her go. She's very pregnant, and we don't need to be stressing out a pregnant horse. So I don't know if that would have ended differently if she wouldn't have been pregnant. But
I might have kept her in there longer and figured out how to pick leaves and feed her leaves.
Yeah.
Because I think that's actually important to be able to do random weird stuff like humans do without totally upsetting the animal.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that she was trigger stacked because of her history with Spot.
Yeah.
And it's not that he attacked her. He just wants her to join his harem.
He sees her beauty, and
exactly.
He's willing to take on the child too. We think
for a little while at least. Yeah. Okay. So we're still just horse can be led in familiar pens.
Yeah.
Okay. What happened in 122?
So we kind of took a little break and started working on feet. And then on 622, we went back to leading an unfamiliar area. And this was kind of a weird day because I thought we were going to do feet. And when you and I were planning, you said, you're going to think I'm crazy, but let's take her out the back area and actually lead her onto the road.
Yeah.
Kind of outside.
Just because I wanted to get where we could say 23 is done.
Yeah. And
at that point, we didn't really have any unfamiliar interior areas because she'd been everywhere except if we let her pass the puppies, and that was just the recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So it's like, let's go out on the road.
Yeah. So we halted her, put on the mini lead rope again, kind of to the point of the, I'm just going to get a rope burn if I put that big lead rope on, and she's still going to get away and be more scared. So we had that little lead rope on, and she did great. We circled back onto the road and back in multiple times. I think she was she was aware that she was in a new space, or at least it seemed like that to me, but she was also pretty calm about the whole thing.
She didn't try to go start grazing on the side, grazing the weeds, the dusty weeds.
She had one, like, we got close to one of those kind
She
of.
sniffed
Yeah, she
something.
sniffed it and thought, oh, that's interesting. And then, we went back around, and yeah, she did great.
Yeah, she was gathered from environment like this, with the same kind of plant life.
Yeah.
So this would be very familiar to her. Okay, so this was the road, and then 123.
123, we wanted to put her in a more unfamiliar area and lead over some obstacles. So, I wouldn't say it was a completely unfamiliar area, but actually an area she'd only been in once before when we let her Cuddles and Frankie out for a little romp in that zone. But basically, we let her out, and lots of bites when she entered a new area, circled around to the more familiar area, and ended up with her stepping over a log multiple times. And she stepped on the concrete, walked on the concrete. Some vertical railroad ties in the ground, and she did some leading around those. She was nervous close to trailers. We have trailers kind of on one side, and definitely was aware of those. And then, we talked about leading her behind.
She went into vigilance when you went too close behind the trailer.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah, and she also kind of pulled a little bit, like I was, trying to walk, and she said, you know what, we're going to veer this way opposed to that way.
Yeah.
And so there was some of that. It was also interesting, you were trying to film, and she was, in that mode of, hey, everybody needs to be involved in my session actively,
And maybe you're the person with the hay.
Yeah, like,
so let me go put my nose on your camera.
But she did great on that one.
Okay, so overall, you know, just she needs a lot more leading experience.
Yeah.
She needs a lot more leading, and when after she's had her foal and things are kind of settled down for her, my plan with her is to tie her up more.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be tying her near hay bags quite a bit, and then and when she's very comfortable about that, which you know she did great on that,
Yeah.
but you know she needs to kind of really come to terms with not being limited on that rope.
Yeah.
And so when she gets real comfortable with that, then I'll lead her more to get her more comfortable. But I just, you know, I just don't want to really do anything that's going to create an incident with a mare that's that pregnant.
For sure.
I just like,
Yeah.
no, we don't need to do this right now.
Yeah, and we're making progress on other steps that are less potential stressors.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Exactly. But she's going to be finished up without a good, solid leading, reliable leading behavior. You know, it's a fair leading behavior, but it's not as good as I'd like it to be. I don't have any food. Just got the camera, you know. You know how the camera is.
Camera lady. You want to go away from the obstacle or you want to go over?
Let me cross it.
What?
Let me cross it. Deet, deet.
Good girl.
I'm gonna get her back feet too. Deet, deet. So she gets 4 bites.
1 bite. 3 bites. 3 bites. 4 bites.
Now let's go across it again.
You ready?
Deet, 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 deet.